It's time for the latest roundup of all things Cardiff City. From Ken Chu's office all the way down to Wes 1927 on the Cardiff City Forum. From reliable to unreliable, Cy brings you all the news there is to be consumed. All thanks to his very reliable source who's always spot on with this sort of stuff. Exclusively for Cardiff City World. Here's your latest roundup. People reported that Gary Otto, who is also a shareholder at Sutton United, is leading the way with his bid to take over Cardiff City, with some people even claiming that a deal with Mehmet Dalman to pay off his loans was agreed, and all that was left was for Vincent Tan to agree the sale. In other news, CF11 News updated his profile picture. Also, on Monday, Glenn Williams from Wales Online confirmed that no official bid has been made, and that the lack of transfer incomings has nothing to do with the prospect of any sale, and that the lack of transfers was entirely down to Brian Barry Murphy, favouring quality over quantity. Finally, Cy has a new intro, which includes a new rap song because Cy is cool. That's your latest roundup. Back to Cy with the weather.
Yes, guys. Oh, wrong one. Yes, guys, I'm Cy. Welcome to Cardiff City World. That was Savigma with his first ever appearance on a channel. You can get more of his 1 minute podcasts coming soon. That was the first one. It'll be dropping on the shorts in a bit. So basically, what that is satire. And I expect him to mock me relentlessly. But anyway, that's not why we're all here, is it? Here we go. And no, I don't mean here we go like that, fuck's sake. I told you, when it's done, I'll say, thank fuck for that. What I'm going to do tonight, right? I'm not going to stay on here for an hour because, quite frankly, I feel like shit. My Crohn's is playing up and it is painful and it is not nice. I wasn't going to do a live, but my mentions, my DMs, my WhatsApps, my texts, my emails, they're all full of people saying, do a live, give us an update. And, but once it went to MySpace and Bebo, that was it. Like, I had to do it, so I did it. But what I'm going to do for you tonight, right, is I'm going to tell you the very, very latest that I've heard from the Gary Otto side. But I'm also going to give you a little insight into the club side. And I'm also going to give you a little insight into what the hierarchy is saying. So we've got a bit of everything from all angles. And when I tell you, they're all saying different things, sort of, you will understand why it is insane. And I'm seriously considering writing a book about the whole process at some point, if it all comes off and goes the way it goes. It is going to be one of them stories that you will relay forever and ever. Even if it doesn't come off, it's going to be one of them because it's just mental. Like, Cardiff City is a basket case of a club. And I want to caveat this with some stuff, right? I'm going to tell you what I've heard from the Otto side. I'm going to tell you what I've heard from the club side, and I'm going to tell you what has trickled down from the hierarchy. And also we'll talk about what Glenn and Wales Online have said. And here's the thing, right? Is, as I said the other night on Sunday, you have got to take every single one of them with a pinch of salt. Because I'll tell you one thing, they can't all be right. And until it's signed, sealed, and delivered, Vincent Tan is a guy that is very difficult to deal with. And I think that is ultimately going to make or break it. And that's what it's going to come down to. I can tell you this. Vincent Tan's advisors are telling him that it is the wrong time to sell. So that first and foremost. However, Vincent Tan is his own man. Vincent Tan will do what he wants to do and what he feels is best for him. And if you look at it from a kind of business point of view, I can understand that advice. But equally, they've been talking since January. And I don't know. Why would you talk to someone for that long if you weren't going to ultimately do anything with it? It's a process, you know. Little bit of information I've had about the Gareth Bale bid. I can't, or I'm not going to tell you the very, very specific figures. But what I'm going to tell you is I am shocked, and I'm frankly quite embarrassed that Gareth has put his name to that bid, and I don't really know what's going on with it. I don't know Gareth. I know some people who know him and stuff, but like, I'm surprised, especially so publicly. Like privately, whatever, like chance your arm, innit? But to be so public and say about a fair offer is wild to me. Honestly, it is insane. The first offer, you couldn't have even bought Jesper Darland for that. And the second offer, if you take out Yusuf Salic's valuation or my valuation of Yusuf Salic, you ain't left with much left. So that was never going to happen. That was, I think it's really quite embarrassing. Like if that was the I get start low, you're negotiating, start low, work your way up, find somewhere in the middle. I get that, whatever, but you've got to start low enough that it's realistic, not that you're insulting the person that you're trying to ultimately do a deal with. So that's the first sort of part of that. And I am surprised, I'm shocked, not surprised by certain people who are around him would do stuff like that, but like I'm surprised he's been so public with it, and I would love one day to ask him about it. And who knows, maybe they come back in with a more realistic offer, but I just don't know, just weird, very weird. So I forget what I said on Sunday now, but like ultimately, Gary Otto and co. Where were we? So Gary Otto and co. had been speaking to the club for 7 months or 6 months, 6 and a bit months. They've made offers. They've had meetings. Glenn put out an article the next day which said there's been no official offers. Now, I'm not blaming Glenn for this by any means, because he's either been told or briefed by the club or whatever. But to say that there hasn't been an offer is just factually incorrect. However, to say there hasn't been an official offer is technically correct, because I don't know if I talked about this the other day, but like when you negotiate for a player or a club or whatever, like you go through all the process that you've got to go through, you negotiate all the different bits you've got to negotiate, and then the final thing you do is an official offer will go in, it'll be accepted, and it's all put in writing. So yeah, there hasn't been an official offer, but there's been offers. How could you turn down Gareth Bale's offer if there was no offer? There wasn't a meeting in Monaco. I never said there was a meeting in Monaco. I'm not sure where that came from, because the meeting took place in London. Disingenuous or just leaving bits out? I don't know. It's very interesting. They've had a meeting with the, how can I word this? What would you say? They've had a meeting with people related to the ownership or the people who own the stadium. They've had a meeting with people at the football club, supposedly. Like I've spoken to people who may or may not have been in that meeting. So they'll be shocked to know that there was no meeting. It's a very interesting one. However, that's where it is. Now, I had a barrage of texts today. I had a couple from that really, really good source from the Gary Otto side. And then I've had a couple from other places. But they're all saying the same, if not similar things, which is, and again, I'll read it because I want to be clear, right? I am not saying that there is a deal done. I am not saying that there's a deal agreed. However, one side is not far off that in their eyes. Now, the club, hierarchy at the club, should I say, they are saying it is nonsense and there's nothing to it. One side is being disingenuous at best. One side is not. I don't know what to tell you. But what is the benefit? So let's look at it like just hypothetically, right? Gary Otto's side are saying it's done. Contracts are with the lawyers, blah, blah, blah. They've had meetings with the FAW, the government, whatever, all these different people, right? And the people at the club, they've laid out their plans. If you take that at face value, right, and you just isolate that stuff and you go, right, what is the benefit of saying that if it's not true? Because ultimately, if it's not true, one, it's embarrassing, you look stupid. Two, I think you irritate Vincent Tan, which means if it wasn't true and you wanted to go back and do a deal with him, it would be very, very, he's difficult to deal with anyway without irritating him, and he'll dig his heels in, all that sort of stuff. So there's that side of it. On the other hand, the club say it's nonsense. And look, I have to stress this because I know the first instinct people say, well, of course they're saying nonsense because the deal is nearly done, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if that's the case because there's too many people around them who they wouldn't lie to, or they would say, I can't talk about that, or something along those lines, It makes it very confusing because literally it is one end of the spectrum to the other. So yesterday I was thinking, they're saying this. It's probably somewhere in the middle, usually is. But at this point, today specifically, we are at such opposite ends of the spectrum. It is insane. There is no middle ground. Now, I don't know what to tell you other than I'll tell you like what they're saying and what it is. Just trying to find the message. So we'll talk about a period of exclusivity at the moment. So, I was told, and I'm just going to be honest, right? And I say this again, you have to take everything, no matter the source, with regards to this, with a pinch of salt. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, for instance. I would be pleasantly surprised if it did. But this is what I have been told. And that is that they have met them. They've met the FAW. They've met the Welsh government. They've already passed the FFP test. Now, that was interesting because that is a long, drawn-out process. I don't know if anyone saw the Gary Neville podcast quite recently, whereby they sort of talked about the process of just changing board members and having to restructure the club. It's a very painful process. But when Gary Otto took over at Sutton United, or when he became part owner or whatever he is, he did the EFL FFP test, or fit and proper person test. So even though they've been relegated out of the EFL, I don't know if that carries over. Does he have to do the fit and proper test again? Because from what I understand, it's not just him, it's two other people with him who are supposedly in negotiations. So would he be the sole owner? I don't know how that works. I'm not going to pretend to. But this is what it says. I'm told that they passed the FFP test and they are in Cardiff in the next week or so for 4 or 5 days. That's what I was told. I've got no reason to believe otherwise. Some additional information which came from a few different places this morning and today, that the exclusivity period is now over, meaning that the certain financial elements of the club can move on again. Then that's an interesting one, because the exclusivity period from my research. I did a bit of research on it, and technically you can buy and sell players within that period, but you can also, there can also be like clauses inserted by both sides whereby you're not allowed to sell players, or you're not allowed to buy players, or or other elements with like commercial and sponsorship, because obviously they don't want you to make any big deals that could affect their club when they take over it, I guess. I believe that exclusivity period is over, again, according to that side of things. O'Dowda was sold during that period, but I led to believe that probably because he was already in the process. So I guess we'll see on that front. Like, so this is what I think, Dan. This is my opinion. Okay. The club, it can put all this to bed. If they issue a statement tomorrow or whenever, and they say the club is not for sale, we're backing the exciting young manager we've got and the young players, and we want to build, and we're going to implement a sporting director or similar, which was supposed to be the plan anyway. That puts it all to bed. If that statement does not arrive within 7 days, then I'm going to get really excited, because it's all right, the trust or whoever, like, the board saying that it's not happening, but there's clearly something happening. There has been meetings, there has been discussions since January, so there's something going on. And hereby there's two parts to it, right? One of the problems I think for fans is the fans have fed up of being treated like they're second-class citizens, like they don't matter, and there's a frustration at the lack of communication from the football club. And then they brief the media, and it says X, Y, and Z, and not just me, but other people. Like, there's a good chunk of people which know for a fact the elements of that are just not correct. So you feel like they just are fobbing you off as a fan all the time. And that's a long-term feeling, not just around this whole process. But if it is all happening as I've been told, and Anis has been told, and Tony has been told, and other people have been told, there's other people as well who sort of message me and stuff, and they know stuff that I haven't told them, and we haven't got mutual friends, so they're finding it from, they're getting it from somewhere. If it is happening, or is in the process, or it's just, maybe it's earlier in the process or later in the process than whatever we all think, they just simply can't comment. They just can't. It's just a fact. Like, they can't discuss it. And if you look at it the other way, the Otto Group has done a phenomenal job of keeping it out of the press and speculation since January. It's only really leaked. His name's only leaked this week, and the bid and that really didn't leak properly until the last couple of weeks. The Bale thing came, and then there was like, well, there is other bidders, but it's been kept out of the press. There's been no real speculation until these last couple of weeks. Could the club be attempting to return that in kind by keeping everything as confidential and private as possible? Do they want to keep it as private as possible to be respectful to Vincent Tan? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to what it is, but at the moment I can tell you that Gary Otto and his consortium feel that it's very far down the line. Cardiff City's hierarchy, as in the board, say that it's nonsense. They told the trust that. They told they told Wales Online that it's nonsense, but they admitted that there's been some initial conversations or whatever, but no official offers, no meetings, blah, blah. So it's tricky, right? And as I said the other day, or I alluded to, like, you know, the people who've been in those meetings will be real confused to find out that there's been no meetings. And another thing which baffles me, right, is if you take this information on face value that they've met someone at the FAW, they've met someone within the government or the council, whatever it is, I'm not quite sure what it is, but that feels like something you do right at the end of the process, not at the beginning of the process. So again, if you take what the club are saying at face value, it's the very, very, very early stages of the process. They've sent a letter of intent. They haven't made an official bid. We haven't had any real meetings. That's the start of the process. But if you were meeting the FAW or the council or whoever, that feels like something, maybe not at the end of the process, but certainly something 3/4 of the way. Again, hypothesizing, and I am trying. Welcome, Steve. Welcome. I wonder if that's Steve Borey. Who knows? I'm joking. I don't know what to tell you, right? Because I'm a Cardiff City fan. First and foremost, I'm a fan. And if you remember on Sunday, though, like there's a good 1,000 odd people watching again. There was 3,000 on Sunday. Someone asked me on Sunday to reveal the 3 players who did a U-turn. They asked to leave at the end of the season and then have changed their minds completely. And I said, and it's not very often I would do this. I said, no, I'm not going to do that because that just puts a target on their back and it makes them the villain. And that's not good for Cardiff City. That's not good for the football team. Like, ultimately, I'm a Cardiff City fan beyond anything else. And I want what's best for the football club. And in this situation, what I would like more than anything is a bit of clarity. You know, like tonight, just as an example, it was my night off tonight. I was not feeling very well. I had a video on Ruben Colwell potentially being the captain, a new captain of Cardiff City. Happy days. But I'm also happy to jump on and tell people what I've heard because, look, one thing I can say is that in terms of this process, and I'm very privileged. Like, I'm very privileged that I know a lot of people within the club, within football, and media and the rest of it. Like, I know how privileged I am to be able to meet people, to see people, to talk to people and hear these types of things. You know, realistically, I shouldn't know it, should I? You know, but I do. Now, if you take it on face value, but again, the person who's told me this was in the initial meetings. They introduced Gary Otto to Cardiff City. And when it all shakes off and they come on, they will get the credit they deserve. And hopefully that will be to celebrate a new era under Cardiff City. Hopefully. And if it's not, then they'll come on and they'll talk about the whole process and what happened, when it started, the timeline. And then they'll talk about, I suppose, when it went wrong or what happened with it. Like, it is what it is. Vincent Tan is being told that it's the wrong time to sell. And if you look at it from a business point of view, Cardiff City's at its lowest in terms of modern times. I know we've been at lower points historically, but modern times, we are at a low point. If we go up this year, the club's value will be more next summer, obviously. And then if he was to invest, it'll be, you know, we're not stupid. We all understand the higher up we go, the more we are going to be worth. I think, you know, you look at, was it Brentford who were valued at 400 million recently? Like, with the greatest of respect to Brentford, if Cardiff City are a Premier League team, established Premier League team for a couple of years, I think they're a bigger club than Brentford, but not at the moment, of course. You know, ultimately, I think I do believe a change in ownership will bring back fans on a regular basis to the Cardiff City Stadium, and we'll have a full stadium again. I do believe that if we were in the Premier League, we'd be selling out the stadium every week, and we probably need a stadium extension. It's just the nature of the beast. Cardiff is, people don't like it when I say this. Opposing fans love to have a dig about it. Cardiff City is a sleeping giant. Everything is in place for what you would need to do to take a club real like forward. And if you were a businessman who's looking for a football club that's a project that if you invest and put the right things in place, you can take them to the highest possible point. Cardiff City is right up there with that. The infrastructure of the city is in place, the hotels, everything is in place on that side of it. You got a nice enough stadium. It's not Ninian Park, but I mean, Ninian Park has fallen apart, but still loved it. You got a nice stadium. You've got a beautiful academy that's producing. You've got a planned training ground. Now, again, hypothetically, who owns Cardiff City Stadium? I'll ask you. Who owns Cardiff City Stadium? And when you get the answer to that, if I bought Cardiff City, I would be responsible for all the bills that Cardiff City incur on a monthly, weekly basis. Because Cardiff City don't own their stadium. So if they don't own the stadium, there must be some sort of lease in place, which they pay to use it. So a new owner would have to meet that person to take over said lease. And this is why it's so puzzling. Because when you start looking at the jigsaw pieces, it feels like the information that myself and other people are getting is the right kind of direction and the right way. But you can't ignore the fact that the board, the trust, Wales Online are all saying, no, it's not. There's nothing to it. You can't ignore that. You'd be stupid to ignore that. You've got to listen to everything. And, I know staff at the football club, like playing staff, coaching staff. I know that 4 weeks ago, I was told by a couple of them that the club was being sold. And it wasn't being sold to Gareth Bale because this was right when the Gareth Bale thing was happening. Like, are they just going off the speculation? Because there wasn't really much speculation then about Gary Otto or about, there was like a little thing about, there's another bidder, is South African and Malaysian and blah, blah, blah. Like, go on, Gary. Why aren't you a member? Got enough cash. So that's strange to me. Like, do you just put that down to coincidence? Like, they all go on social media and they watch YouTube and they watch these things. But, we weren't talking about it, for instance, on at that point, really. It was that one Sunday where the Bale stuff happened that we kind of started to begin to talk about it. But I was asked not to talk about it. So I didn't talk about it. I might have alluded to it once or twice and said, like, oh, there's other offers and stuff like that. But, and this is the thing, right, is nothing has been signed. Nothing, as far as I'm aware, nothing's been agreed. But they are also, they seem to be very confident, like real confident. And I don't just mean, well, yeah, we think this is going to happen. Like the sentence which was said to me today, and I want to be clear, right? Please. I need this to be clear. This wasn't from Gary Otto's side. This was from someone else. Actually, two different people said this to me who work in two different places, two different businesses. But they would be kind of involved in an overarching overall thing. And they said they are getting ready to celebrate. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, I try to be as balanced as possible, and I try to be as honest as I can. And I've told you what I've said from the Otto side. I've told you what the hierarchy is saying. I've kind of alluded to some of the other stuff within the club because I don't want anyone to lose their job or get in trouble and stuff like that. So I'm very careful with that side of things because I speak to people all over the club, literally all over, from top to bottom. And, you know, that's just what it is. If Cardiff City were in 2025 like they should be, they would be utilizing social media. They'd be utilizing fan channels. They'd be utilizing other things other than like newspapers. Newspapers is a dying breed with the greatest of respect. I got a lot of respect for Glenn. I really like him as a guy and stuff, and he can only do what he can do at the end of the day. But like, with the greatest of respect, YouTube is where it's at. Social media is where it's at. Like, we're in 2025 and the club is so far behind on that. But they're so far behind on every metric. They haven't even got a football structure, for goodness sake. Like a sporting director or some shit. It's embarrassing. I will answer a couple of questions as best I can. Daya, right? So Daya goes back way back in the day. For the older folk, they probably remember him. He is a wind-up merchant, and he loves it. Like, he loves it. He's not a Cardiff City fan, but he used to be in Cardiff a lot. I don't know him personally, but I know people who know him, and I remember him from back in the day. Like, I was just a kid. I used to, you know, I was a teenager who wanted to be a football hooligan, like, you know. So it's one of them. Like, can I say, elements of what he said are spot on, mate, honestly. Like, I don't know about the other stuff, so I couldn't say that everything he says is bullshit, because I've seen some of the stuff he says and some of the stuff is right. I don't know about the other stuff, so I can't say either way. And also, I will say he likes winding people up, but he's another one. He gets social media. I don't like social media, but I need it and I use it because I've got to use it for Cardiff City World, for Podcast Nation, for live events, you know, all this sort of stuff. I really don't enjoy it. It makes me uncomfortable. Is Rhys. I really need a drink. Right. What's the next question? Right. Tell me specifically what has Steve Day said, and I'll try and answer it that way. Because without knowing the context, I suppose it's difficult to see, but Rhys David Evans says, once it's concerned, a live Cardiff City World 1927 club episode from the Cardiff City Stadium car park. Nah, mate. Why the car park? Let's go inside. Right. Let's answer a couple of questions because I am feeling ropey. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here. If you're not a member, by the way, get a member. Good one for the audio viewers, audio listeners, even. You go. It did make me laugh. Was it? I quote tweeted it. Someone, I don't know, some account on Twitter, which I think I follow actually. They said Johnny Owens buying Cardiff City, and I was like, wow, just a little bit off base there. Although he might have enough in the coffers for Gareth Bale's consortium's first bid. Rhys says, tell you what, Si, all these new members, I think as hosts need an extra 24 hours to be able to buy live tickets at this rate. We'll be missing out. Yeah, it's going to be a problem, mate, but just have to do bigger events, won't we? We'll just have to do bigger events. I'm hoping to have the Cardiff City World t-shirt, football shirts this week. We'll see how it is. It's I'm finding it really mind-blowing because the both versions of what's going on at the moment are so far apart. Like, it's not like they're like, or like, you know, some things overlap, but some things don't. It's just pain. I don't know. Oh, that's annoying. So I've just... I just had a text of someone who I trust implicitly. I will read you the text. It says, I'm going for a quick walk. I've got a few things that I need to tell you quick. Have you started the show? Well, just take the call on the show. Just out him now. So I'll have to find out what that is. We'll have to do another live another day. But there we go. It is what it is. Yeah, so that's a good point. John Blue says there, let's hope his consortium have lied to GB and he's not fully aware. Mate, it's madness, right? Because I just can't believe that he thought that was a good idea, honestly. And I certainly can't believe that they realistically think Cardiff City is worth that. Even in League One. Doesn't even buy their most experienced players. Well, that's an interesting element. So D1 there says, never mind the book. Ryan Reynolds picked the wrong club to make a series about. Absolutely, he did. But you know who else has got Hollywood links? Gary Otto. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. So, and this is a good point. Like John says, Wales Online can only say what the club allow them to say, even if they have information that says otherwise. So, specifically for Glenn, right? Because Glenn is the Cardiff City correspondent. Now, the club can't stop him covering, or they couldn't stop him acting on information that he's got. But what they can do is they can ban him from games. They can ban him from the press conference. They can stop giving him information. And that's his livelihood. That's his job. Like, what use is he to Wales Online if he's the Cardiff City correspondent that can't cover Cardiff City? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Mrs. Willis. I'll be done now. I apologize. As I say, it was supposed to be my night off. What was the comment you threw up before that? Matt or Becky or whoever's throwing them up? Put that back up a minute, mate. Yeah, it was it was embarrassingly low. What I want to also say about the Gareth Bale stuff is, me personally, as much as I love Gareth Bale, I'm glad that offer was not accepted because of other things that are going on in America and away from it with some of the people involved. I don't think that's something that we want Cardiff City to be like associated with and stuff like that. It's a tricky one. But we'll see. Like, I feel for Gareth if he hasn't been told what's going on. Peter Bradbury says, are we sure Gary Otto has the financial clout to pull off any deal? So my cat just knocked the light over, but I caught it because I've got reflexes like a bonus points for anyone who can finish that sentence. Peter says, are we sure Gary Otto has the financial clout to pull off any deal? I don't want a no money consortium in place. So I can't tell you for definite. I don't know how. Like Gary Otto is not short of a few bob, but I have no idea what his actual net worth is because there's quite not much information about him. However, he's not the only member of the consortium, but we don't know who they are. So I can say I was told by a couple of people that they had, they very, very, very minted. Caked was the word, but I don't know that for sure. And I want to be, again, you've got very clear. If I don't know something, I'll say I don't know. Oh, what's going on? Don't stand on that. So yeah, right. Last couple of questions, Matt. Otherwise, I'll be getting a divorce. What we got? Any interesting ones? Better reflexes than Callum Chambers. Yeah, I'm quicker than him, mate. Come on, chunk. Two other people, Samish Kumar and Samaman. Yeah, can you imagine? And Rick Wright is the Rick Wright is the third man. All right, boy. So yeah, there we go. If Howverth tried to catch that everything in front of him, it would have gone past him. Howverth's been good in preseason. I just think maybe he needed a bit of confidence. Confidence is good. So it's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting how it all sort of plays out, because when you look at it, right, you've got all the different things which are coming out via Anis on the message board, and a lot of that adds up. A lot of it, and I mean a lot of it, adds up with what I'm hearing. But equally, when you add in things like the meetings with certain elements, the alleged meetings with the club. No. The Hollywood thing. It's just that Gary Otto has got links to like films and media and Hollywood. So I meant like maybe he'll decide to make a series about Cardiff City. Welcome to fucking Cardiff. That's what they call it. I forgot what I was saying now. Distracted me. Yeah, so like when you put all the pieces together, like the different things. So I'm trying to work out, what do I know? What do I know to be factually true? So the club says nonsense. I know that is true. I know that Gary Otto was introduced to Cardiff in January-ish, and they've been talking ever since. Or Gary Otto's consortium as such. I know they've had a meeting with the council. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, because you can never be 100% sure because it's secondhand information, but I'm pretty sure that they've had a meeting with the club when Steve Borley and others were in attendance. In fact, I'm relatively sure that Steve Borley, Kenneth Cho, and Mehmet Dalman attended that meeting in some form, but I don't know it for definite. So that's not in the definite pile. I know Gareth Bale's first offer was embarrassing. I say Gareth Bale, it wasn't Gareth Bale, Gareth Bale's. I would have taken Sorry Cabba on loan last year, just from January till the end of the season, because we just needed goals to try and stay up ultimately. So I guess the message with the takeover is, I understand people's frustration with it, and they're like, you're full of shit. Glenn said this, that's rubbish. Glenn's full of shit. I get it. All I can do is cover it. Like I'll talk about what's being said, and then I will add my own context of what I've been told by good sources. And I should add that if I talk about transfers, if I talk about anything which is kind of like, I hate the term, in the know type stuff, I hate the term, but if I ever talk about anything like that on camera, one thing you can be assured is that I will have had that information from more than one person. Very, very rarely will I be willing to say something publicly if I haven't verified it with at least 2 separate people. Because in my opinion, that is the responsible thing to do. Because I don't want to rile up Cardiff City fans. Oh, we're gonna have new owners. We're gonna have new owners. We're gonna have new owners. Blah, 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 tan selling if it's not happening. But equally, I'm not going to ignore it when I've got people who I really, really, really trust telling me that X, Y, and Z is going on. So I will cover it and I will talk about it. It's up to people. It's up to people if they want to listen to what I say or if they don't. Like I like to think that I am as balanced as I can be. It is difficult because I'm emotionally invested in it. I'm a Cardiff City fan and I want the best for Cardiff City, ultimately, whatever that is. But I try to be fair. I try to be fair when I talk about player performances. I try to be fair when I talk about tactics or whatever. Matthew says, how's your relationship with the club, Si? Are they happy with that you have contacts that you speak to and get information from? I've no idea on the latter. My relationship's all right with them. Like, it's weird. Sometimes they like me, sometimes they don't. I think it's part nature of the beast in terms of. So, for instance, I know that a lot of the staff, if you like people who just work at the club, really enjoyed the Rebuilding Cardiff City series. I got a lot of really good feedback about that. Because it wasn't just, Cardiff is shit. We got no structure. We're the owners, the board's twats. Like, it's so unimaginative. That's just lazy, unimaginative. That was a series about how to fix it. What can we do to address the problem? And look, some people will like it. Some people they won't. One of my favorite series to record is Si versus Idiots. I've only done 2 episodes of it. And the reason I haven't done 2 episodes of it is because there was someone within the club who took the first episode really, really, really seriously, even though I label it as like, do not take this seriously. It's satire. It's a piss take, blah, blah, blah. They took it personally. And I didn't, I don't want that. But I love doing that series because I can have fun with it. And if you can't laugh, you're probably going to cry in it. So, like, you got to have a bit of fun with it, The Savigma, I don't even know how to say his Twitter name. Savigma is going to be doing he's bringing his 1 minute podcast to a channel. I'm going to drop that episode now as a short. So please do support it. I think he's funny and I expect him to absolutely rip me to pieces. That's what I want him to do. It just lightens the mood. Something a bit different. It's short, sharp, and it's funny. Don't take it too seriously if you feature, because it will feature fans of Twitter and people saying stupid stuff. Like, it's going to feature it. He'll feature me and he'll feature Anis or Tony or whoever. Like, it'll feature whoever. Feature Glenn. Just don't take it too seriously. Like, it's, it's a bit of fun. Tomorrow night, we have the 1927 Club with Rhys and Matt, where they'll be reviewing the game. Tomorrow lunchtime, we got a Ruben Colwell video, which was supposed to be out tonight. Trying to think what else we got coming. Daniel says the exclusivity period may have protected us from selling Salic, as they may have inserted a clause not to sell any major assets, but also not to take any major contracts, etc. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've been told all along since the very first time, like since the season finished and the first time I asked, he's just not for sale. They will not sell him. But I think we all know historically, Cardiff City usually sell when the money comes. So let's go. It is what it is. I just look, I hope it's I hope it happens, but just be patient and just relax and see how it goes, and it will I'll update as and when I get stuff, and at the moment I'm getting stuff pretty often, and we shall see in it. We'll see how it all pans out. Be patient. I think then we might see a signing one day in the next 2 weeks. Maybe not. Not convinced. I got a really bad feeling we might be going in as we are. But does that add more credence to the fact that we might be being sold? That we're not going to sign anyone. I don't know if we will sign anyone. I'm just saying. Right. Lewis says, this was Daya's thing, was it? Here you go, lads, lasses. Your deal is basically done and agreed. Your new owners have met the council, the FAW, and everything else concerned. Tanner's agreed to sell. They're even meeting fans on Friday. Deal will be done for the start of the season. So, first bit or first sentence, not to my understanding that it's all agreed. Next bit, new owners have met the council. Yep. FAW still trying to confirm. Everyone else concerned. I mean, they've met the board and people, or they've spoken to the board and people. Tanner's agreed to sell. Not sure about that because I still think that he might not. I really do think that's a possibility. And I think people need to remember that. They're even meeting fans on Friday. No idea if it's Friday. Deal will be done for the start of the season. I think that's unlikely, but not impossible. Because I think what has dawned on me in the last 24 hours is if I take everything on face value from the auto side, this is way, way further along than what I thought. But I really, really urge caution with that because the club, the people around the club are just not, they're just not saying that that's where it's at. Right. Dodger Gaming says, just want to say, really enjoyed the channel side. Really exciting build up to the season with all of this, regardless of no signings. I appreciate that, mate. We try our best. Right. I am going to go before I get myself in a load of trouble. We shall see where we go in a couple of days. We shall see. Hopefully, 2-part event. That's not a bad idea. 2 nights. Cost me more money. Right. Guys and girls, it has been a pleasure. I really do appreciate it. I'm really, really sorry to my lovely wife because I literally said I'm going to jump on you for 20 minutes because my DMs and stuff was just full. Read your WhatsApp. What is Rhys saying about my WhatsApp? Rhys, I'm not showing you my boobs. Right. Keep the faith, my friends, and I'll see you in the morning. Nice one. Oh, yeah. Would you like a breakfast show, like a live breakfast show? If you could choose, would you like a live breakfast show that you could listen to on your way to work and stuff like that? Let me know in the comments after the video finishes. And if you're not a member, I mean, what are you doing at this point? Like, there's just under 2,000 people watching. Become a member. Let's go.
Maxwell Beats.
For your Caesar. Cardiff City, right with me for your Caesar.